Welcome to our podcast, Doing It Right. This podcast reveals authentic stories from successful leaders doing it right. It's about their journey to become a leader, their choices, motivations, and lessons. In essence, how they built successful personal brands. Your host is Valerie Sokolowski, author of 8 leadership books and nationally known as an authority on executive presence and personal branding. Let's get started. Here's Valerie.
Well, welcome today. I am very excited to have a fellow journalist on the show today. And this is going to be great fun for me because that's where I started. And this gentleman is the market president and publisher of the Dallas Business Journal, which is a really big job. I can't wait to talk to him not only about his role and what he's doing, but also about him as the man, because I want to tell you, in speaking with him before the show and getting to know him a bit even before that, this is one authentic leader, and that's what this whole show is about. I don't have anyone on the show unless I know they are leaders who are walking their talk. So let's just get right into this and let me welcome Ollie Chandhok.
You got it.
I got it. Chandhok.
You've got it dialed in.
But it's Doc.
Exactly. Yeah. Chandhok. It's easier than it looks.
Chandhok.
Yeah.
What's the background with this? Tell us about that.
You know, it's unique, I guess. I'm from a variety of different places. My father was from Bombay, India, and my mom was from Manila, Philippines. So I'm half Filipino, half Indian. The name is an Indian name. I probably don't pronounce it correctly because I grew up in Toronto. So I sound like a Canadian, and I'm pronouncing an Indian last name. But yes, I'm Canadian of Indian and Filipino heritage.
What a beautiful heritage, truly.
It's different, that's for sure. I actually know another girl, a friend of mine, that is unrelated with the exact same mix in Toronto.
In Toronto.
Yeah.
And I assume you've been to both countries and visited family and.
That's sorry to say I haven't been. haven't been to either. They, most of the Filipino family all lives in Toronto area.
Oh, okay.
The Indian folks, I don't know them very well. In fact, my father passed away a long time ago, so I've kind of lost that connection.
I see.
My younger brother stays in contact. He's been to India, but I have not. I would love to go there at some point and see and meet the folks, but I haven't.
At some point. And let's talk about at some point, Ollie, the role that you have, if I can go there for a few minutes. We've all been impacted heavily with COVID-19. And here you are, you've been in Dallas 2 years now, right?
Year and a half. Yeah, getting there.
Okay. And we're going to go back and find out how you got here a little bit later. But I'd like you to talk to us about how you are leading in this interesting, if that's the best word I can come up with, this interesting time. How are you leading differently, and what's working?
Val, we just talked a little bit about that. That's a very, very interesting question. One of the things that I'm noticing, and I've thought about this quite a bit over recent weeks and several months now. There are times recently where I felt like, hey, am I doing the right things? I'm somewhat uncertain because I don't think anybody's experienced this. I'm sure nobody's experienced this.
No.
It's unprecedented, and I'm thinking of folks that are that are in my shoes, similar leaders of businesses, and sometimes I'm a little concerned. I'm a little doubtful in my leadership. Am I doing the right things? Am I communicating enough? Am I sharing the right type of feelings and values out to our team? Over a Zoom call or on a telephone call, it's a little more difficult, right? But you take the platform out of it, and I bring myself back to realize, hey, I'm committed to this, and I feel very confident in the way that I lead our team. It's with very transparent communication. I try and make sure everybody's informed. I always at least attempt to have some personal conversation, some personal contact there before jumping right into the business stuff. I've learned that I'm more tech savvy than I thought I was. I didn't realize that I could handle a video call, and now it's you do it in your sleep, right? So there's some benefits to this. It's hard. People might think I'm crazy saying that, but it's been 3 months of really a really difficult, challenging environment. But there are silver linings. I see some of that tech savviness. The communication is getting better. Folks are more intentional with their time and with their work. It's not. There's not a lot of people taking casual coffee meetings and things. It's more like, hey, we need to be efficient here because there's not a lot of, we can't waste any time. So it, learned quite a few things, but the big thing for me is, I've many times, and I'll share with you, I've fallen into a place where it's a little bit of doubt. Am I leading the team the right way? And I bring myself back and realize, I try and step out of it and observe what I'm doing and see. And it shines to me that, hey, you know what, we are doing the right things. It's just the environment that we're all in at the moment can create some doubt.
Well, thank you for being so honest about it. I would say you are doing it right.
Sure hope so.
You are doing it right, Ollie. And the things that you said about having doubt, I appreciate that, because what I know from speaking with leaders of all industries is there is that doubt.
Mm-hmm.
No one has all the answers. Everyone's figuring it out. And to the point of, I've actually heard of some men who have teared at the beginning and having to work through this. And you talk about being vulnerable. And that's what leadership is about, isn't it? About being, you said the word transparent. Talk to us about leading with transparency, which is a strong value. Where does that value come from, and how do you do that without feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm just bearing my soul?
Right.
Or what's wrong with that?
That's a great question, and I get praise for being transparent, and I have counterparts across the country that share the exact same role, and we lead the local business journal. And what I hear a lot of the time is, they've heard that I'm pretty transparent, and I'm transparent with numbers and metrics and those kind of things, which is not a big deal. I don't think that's a big deal. Other folks may think it is. I'm fairly transparent with my thoughts and ideas, and like the things that the numbers, you can derive information from the numbers and then figure out your next steps. I think it's super valuable to be able to share the thoughts and the direction that I hope to head. And that's the transparency I think that matters, more so than just the metrics and the numbers and those kind of things. So I hear from my counterparts in different cities, and they say, I heard you share XYZ numbers, and I said, why not, right? But the deeper question should be, what else are you sharing? You can certainly share those numbers yourself, and hopefully everybody appreciates that. But of more importance to me is here's what I'm thinking we need to do. Where I think some of not to throw anybody under the bus, but I think there are some leaders out there that keep that to themselves.
Yes, there are.
And it's important, selfishly to gain some input from the team, but also to have them feel like they're part of it, and there's a little bit of trust there.
That's the point, isn't it? To
Right.
make them feel like they're a part of it. Interesting you bring that up, because at one point I was coaching a gentleman, a vice president of a company, where he did not share his thoughts, and he was struggling with building the team and building trust. And so I suggested to him a simple little thing. I said, now this is a big company and you've got a beautiful, wonderful cafeteria, right? Yes. I said, do you eat there? No, I don't eat, or I bring my lunch. And I said, interesting. All right. Well, what if, and I stole this from someone. I'm not going to say it was my idea particularly, but it worked for someone else, and so I shared it. And I said, what about if you just took a 3x5 card and twice a week, write down on that 3x5 card maybe 3 things, no more than 3. There's something magical about 3. I don't know what. Speakers say, I'll give you 3 points. Write down 3 things you're working on, to your point, 3 thoughts you have. And go through the line, find a group of people that are working for you, and just go up, and they'll be scared to death at first, but ask them if you can join them. And then at some point, pull that card out and say simply, I've been working on some things that I'd really like your thoughts on. Could you give me some thoughts on these things? He did that, Ollie, for about a month.
Okay.
And was totally amazed at A, the ideas he got, and B, the things that he didn't know were going on.
Right.
And C, the questions that people asked. And it was a total pivot. So that's transparency.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that's terrific. There is that, you gain benefit from hearing from the team,
Mm-hmm.
but peripherally, you're empowering these folks to share their thoughts. And I don't know everything, so the fact that my team is 25, and I can, I'm only one brain. I need 24 others to contribute, and it certainly helps to hear from them. And so I just feel like that's an important trait, and it helps them own their position and own their role, and they thrive in that type of environment. So I think that's an important part of it, is that trust and empowerment and transparency, of course.
So you are a pretty open guy, and you're also a can-do guy. And you came to Dallas ablazing with ideas. Tell us how you got here.
So I'm born and raised in Toronto. I had my childhood in Toronto. I played golf, and so golf became a major part of my life. I was offered several golf scholarships, and my wife makes me say this. It's most of it was academic scholarships, and the people rather hear about the golf, I guess. But
that's two very important things. 2 scholarships, not one.
Yeah, but so it all kind of shook out somehow, and I ended up in Charlotte at a school called Queen's College. It's now actually called Queen's University of Charlotte. They've grown dramatically. Great school right in the heart of the city. And so I spent some time in outside sales and kind of learned the trade. And then in 2008, I started working for the Charlotte Business Journal. And what was most interesting about that is I was hired to do workshops and seminars. And this was the previous publisher's idea to grow our subscriber base by education-based marketing. And so I would do seminars and classes for salespeople or business owners and people in transition, for that matter, and show them how to find sales leads or just any kind of leads. More importantly, connections in the business journal. And so it took off. It became a very important thing in Charlotte. I was doing this in 5 days a week. I was probably doing this 10 or 12 times.
Oh my gosh, I can so see you doing that.
It was the most fun job I ever had,
really?
Except for the one now. So it was great. It took off, and I did that for a while. And so I was at Charlotte for 6 years. I crossed the street to our corporate headquarters, which is also in Charlotte. So the best part about that gig was I was an internal consultant, traveled to 20 of the 40 business journals nationwide. So it served me very well, because I saw how different publishers operate, different ideas that I could kind of steal from these other markets and bring them home, quote unquote home.
Yeah.
And then after a year of that, I was promoted into the publisher role in Greensboro, North Carolina. That publication is called the Triad Business Journal. So smaller community, smaller business, smaller publication, but we did fairly well. Everything went great, and 3.5 years in, I was asked to move to a bigger city. And what's bigger than this, right? So here we are in DFW. That's right. Yeah. So I'm here, and it's been 1.5 years, and it's been terrific. I mean, I've loved it. Going from North Carolina to Texas, or vice versa for that matter, it's not that challenging. There are some similar cultural things that make it comfortable.
Well, you're comfortable. You're just comfortable.
Not all the time.
No, I bet you are. All right, so you landed in Dallas almost 1.5 years ago, you said. What's one thing to this point that you used that can-do attitude on, and you've made an impact in our city?
What's the kind of highest on my list is the making connections, right, and getting to know people. I really enjoy the, I'm going to use that word again. It's somewhat selfish because I enjoy it so much, just getting to know people.
That's who you are.
Yeah, and I'm willing to be out in the community, go to different events. I don't want to hide behind anything. I need to be out there and plugged in, and I think that's the biggest thing on my list that is of most importance to me, is to be plugged in, get to know folks. And I think it has served me very well over the years. Mm-hmm. I think I mentioned to you earlier, I used to do these job transition seminars, and one of the things that was I would continue to talk about was making connections, and I say that quite simply. It sounds simple, but I feel very, very strongly that if you take a group of your friends, or an individual for that matter, and then and connect them with an unrelated individual or person that they don't know, you benefit the most as the connector. You're you've created a relationship, but ultimately now I've got those two relationships plus the one that exists between the two of them. And for me, that's the can do for me. That's the, hey, I'm good at that and I'm comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. So I like to do that socially. I like to do that in the business community. The word that I use is insulating yourself with a network, with people. The more and more you can do that, the more you can accomplish, because you're surrounded with a larger group of folks, and hopefully they maintain those good relationships.
Oh, I'm sure they do with you.
But you can accomplish anything when you're insulated with a very strong network and a group of people.
That's a great teachable point of view. And that, to me, that is, I would say, one of your gifts, because not too many people just love to get out and socialize all the time. Very few do, Ollie, honestly. And so the fact that you just do it naturally, I'm just going to give you that statement. I think it's a gift.
Well, Valerie, so do you.
Well, thank you.
we connected very quickly. That was easy. And
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I hear you. It's very. I'm thankful that I'm that way, and I think about that a lot. It's not a. I'm just don't get me wrong. I'm just like anybody else. When you walk into a room and you don't know the 20 people there, there's a little bit of uneasiness, as you would expect. But
yes.
I guess for me, that uneasiness lasts a little shorter period of time than for most folks.
Uh-huh.
So you just kind of break through and make the connection. And 5 minutes in, you've made a new friend.
That's so true.
Yeah.
If you just start asking them about them,
Mm-hmm.
they'll think you're the greatest conversationalist in the world.
Right.
We're talking about values here. I want to go there. I'd love for you just to talk about your values. What's some of the strong values you have? Where did they come from? And really importantly, how do you live them at work? How do you show up in a way that people know what's really important to you?
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I learned, both my parents grew up kind of. This is interesting. Actually, my dad grew up fairly wealthy, which is the opposite of what I was going to say. But he didn't. He walked away from it. So he left India when he was in his later teens to move to North America.
Interesting.
He landed in Toronto, and so he kind of let go of all that. My mother grew up in a very almost in poverty in the Philippines, and so what I saw growing up was this work ethic that they were both committed. They both worked the entire time. My father, in fact, he was a residential realtor. I don't think he stopped working. It was just a constant on the go, 7 days a week. And I saw that, right? And to me, it's there's a commitment to the work, and hey, you know what, I'm going to put in the time. And I think part of that is the leadership thing. People see that. I don't expect anybody to work 12 hours a day. That's certainly not my thing. But, I think there are times where I feel like I need to put in a little more time than my team. And obviously it needs to be strategic and smart. I can't just sit there for 12 hours and say that I'm working.
No, you have a family.
Right. But, being first generation, I'll say North American, I saw that. I mean, they both had to really kind of scratch and claw for everything they got. And I witnessed it firsthand. So for me, that value of just putting in the time and work ethic, is high on my list. I wear a suit every day, so it's a little, and I'm sitting in air conditioning. So when I say work ethic, some of that requires a little bit of intellectual property. But again, when I was younger, I worked at the golf course, of course, and whoever the general manager was at the time, we had to dig trenches and build fences, and so
That's humbling.
I learned some work, yeah, and I feel like that's a very important value for folks to have. It's something to appreciate. I appreciate it. Now keep in mind, it has to be very strategic, right? Like I said, it can't just be I'm sitting here for 12 hours.
And your kids, tell us about your wife and kids, because you've been with your wife and kids for every day for a while.
Yeah.
How's that going?
Whole new world, right? So
how are they dealing with all this?
They're, the kids are great. As soon as we said, hey, you don't have to go to school. Yes. You have to go to school, but we'll do it in the kitchen. They were ecstatic because they're home with mom and me. And now luckily my wife is a stay-at-home mom, so. She in fact, she went from stay-at-home mom to school teacher.
Exactly.
This was a very quick transition towards the end of March. Mm-hmm. I think the school districts had a bigger transition trying to create curriculum
no
and
kidding.
things. Yeah.
We owe the teachers.
Oh, absolutely. And so speaking of that, my wife said, this was probably a month into this. She said, we were just going for our walks and things. And she said, man, I really appreciate teachers. I never, we've always appreciated the teachers, but we didn't know how hard it was. And she, every day I'd walk out of my little office at 6 o'clock or 6:30, and she looks like she got beat up. And it was just trying to stick with the curriculum, with the program. And it's hard, and we're in our early 40s. It's a lot harder. The 5th grade right now, it's a lot harder than the 5th grade I knew.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard.
My goodness, they're teaching calculus, and I don't think I ever had it in high school.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah. Well, it's an interesting time. Okay, I'm going to get to some fun questions. You have no idea what they will be. All right. I don't either, actually. Sometimes I don't know what's coming out. What's something that no one knows about you, Ollie?
Man, no one.
Yeah.
It's hard. I tell my wife everything. I'm transparent.
Well, maybe she might.
I'm trying to think. So she might know. So okay, so this might sound really crazy, but I've been on a dance floor, actually dancing with Michael Jordan.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. This was back in Charlotte days, but yeah, I mean, he's a regular in Charlotte, and as famous as he is, if you're in Charlotte, you're likely gonna bump into Michael Jordan, and I did, and it was late at night on a dance floor, and it was fun, and it was a kind of a treat to see, probably the one of the 2 best athletes of all time on a dance floor.
Could he dance?
Oh yeah, he was having a great time. Yeah.
Oh my God! See, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I've got a couple more. Let's see. I think I want to talk to you about what? Let me look, because I wrote down a couple of really good ones here. Okay, if you could live in any time in history, when would you live?
That's a great question, actually.
I know.
That's a great question.
It's a good one.
I would. I think I'm kind of a middle 20th century guy. I think I would have loved living in the 50s and 60s. I just, I'm pretty casual. I'm pretty laid back. I appreciate traditional values and just, working hard and those kind of things. And that's my impression. I wasn't around then, but that was my impression of that generation where, hey, you know what? We eat dinner together every night at 6 o'clock, and we go to work at 8 o'clock. And, those kind of things seem, maybe it's just my current age and my kids and seeing them in action for the last 3 months. I kind of, I desire that environment almost, but it seems like it was a very wholesome time. Everybody kind of worked well together and stuck together. Now, of course, as with any generation, there were challenges which we know about, and
sure.
It just sounds like from what little I know about it, it seems like a time and place I would love to be. Now, coronavirus witstanding, I love it right now.
Yes.
Take that away, and I think things are terrific.
Yes.
It's like I said, it's not perfect at any time, and there are certainly challenges right now, but there are just, I think about the business community and the advances that we've had technologically and those kind of things. It's a very interesting time at the moment, and I think it's stimulating almost in all of the things that we have available to us, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
So, I can't narrow it down to one, but, I think back to the 50s, 60s, and then obviously today.
Speaking of today and your positivity of the things that are good to come out of this, one of the things I really hope, Ollie, will come out of this is that families will realize it is a joy to sit down and be with family more.
Yeah, we unplug every
great.
night. Yeah, and one of the silver linings to this whole environment we're in, my wife and I started walking around the neighborhood. I never would have done that before. I would have thought it was a waste of time or just kind of I don't have the time. We go twice a day. I mean, at 7 a.m. we'll walk 2 miles or so, and then in the evening another mile or so, and it's. Never would have done that. It just sounds so far-fetched to me, and now I can't live without it now.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
and
I love
do you see neighbors that are also...
It's crowded out there.
See? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
I never
great.
Knew my neighbors. Well, now we're sitting out on the front porch on, 6 feet apart, but...
I hope that continues.
I hope that continues.
Yeah.
I think it will. I think people are finding the value in that. What's the funniest thing that you've ever done?
Funniest thing I've ever done. So this might you'll love this. You probably could figure this out. I used to do TV commercials.
You did?
Not when I was little. When I was in my 20s, I was actually making a sales call in Charlotte downtown, and a guy drives up to me and says, "Hey, Ollie," I remember his name is Vince. Good guy. Still am connected with him on the socials and that. He said, "Ollie," he said, "You look pretty good. Can I take a photo of you?"
Oh,
It's scary, right? It's weird.
Could be
very weird. But this had to be 2002, something like that, 03. And I being somewhat maybe stupid, I said, "Sure, go ahead." And he took a picture. He said, "Give me your business card." I gave him a business card. He called me up and said, "Hey, I'm going to send you to this place. They'll pay you $300, and all you got to do is carry around a case of Bud Light."
Oh.
And so I showed up. It was a commercial shoot, and I, at the time I was fresh out of college. $300 is a lot of money, right?
Yes.
So he said, "You want to keep doing this?" And I said, "I'd love to." So if you really try hard, you can find me in various. I think we did some things for Exxon on the Run, for Anheuser-Busch, and all these weird commercials. The crazy part is, I was always framed as the Hispanic guy or the Latino guy, and I'm completely 100% Asian, right? And so there were some times where they asked me "Can you speak?" And I said, "Not at all. I'm from Toronto." But it was, that's a funny thing I've done. But
that is fun.
At the time, it was great. It was terrific.
I always like to ask leaders who are on the show, Ollie, what books you read. Mm-hmm. What books do you read?
So this, when I first got here, it's pretty simple. But when I got here, new to Texas, all excited to be here, I read Friday Night Lights. I've seen the movie, watched the show, and I figured I would read it. And it's I think it's better than the movie. That was somewhat important just to gather some cultural stuff. Mm-hmm. I had a friend just now, local guy, Pete Havel, send me Arsonist in the Office, and I read business books in general, and those kind of things. I'm not a voracious reader. I wouldn't say I'd go through a book in a night like that. Like, the Arsonist in the Office took me a week or so. Mm-hmm. But those kind of things slowly seep in is the way that I feel. And I think that's important. I think those are the types of where I am in my life, that's what's important to me, to read those business books. One of your previous guests, Dale Petrosky with the Chamber, he suggested I pick up Radical Candor, and yes. I did. I did it as soon as Dale said, and I'm just now starting, and it's exciting. I'm excited to read this, and part of it is I'm looking at it through don't tell Dale this, but I'm looking at it through the eyes of myself, of course, but also trying to imagine if I was in Dale's shoes. Dale's a very visible leader in the community, and I'm thinking about some of the things that he, a lot of it is about communication, and he has to figure out how to do that, not just with his team, but there are a lot of business leaders depending on Dale. And so, I'm trying to think of those things through his eyes, and going through the book and reading it, it's very insightful. I feel like I know Dale a little better.
I think the essence of asking that question is that what I find is that leaders do continue to learn. At least the ones that come on this show. Yeah. I cannot imagine anyone that just says, "Well, I'm through college, and so, books, what the hey." Do you like the hardback books, like the real book, or do you like reading it online?
That's a cool question. I like the hardback books for show, because I have a bookshelf in my office, and it looks great when they're all lined up.
Okay, well, these are going to be in your office, okay?
When I I'm more comfortable reading the softback books, because I'm typically before I go to bed, so I'm lying down, and it's easier to hold one of those than flip the hardcovers.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. So this is so funny you're talking about this, because I'm moving my office after 25 years of having an office, Ollie. I'm going to come home and do what I do at home, because who needs really an office anymore? Everything is online, and the coaching is online, and the workshops, I'm traveling there, and so forth and so on. Well, in doing so, I had to gather up all the books and bring them all home. And I could not let many of them go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Having said that, I don't think I'll buy another book for a long time. I'll just read it online.
Right.
Because I don't have any room for it.
You got a lot to go, right?
I got a lot to go, yeah. is there anything that you would leave with the audience? You've given us some great things already about insulate yourself with others and surround yourself with people. We become the person with whom we surround ourselves. Isn't that true?
Right, absolutely.
It's important. And then I love the part about being transparent and you said being doubtful in times of crisis is normal.
I sure hope so, because I've experienced it. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So is there anything else around, what if you were talking to Ace, your 11-year-old son, and you were talking about, okay, son, here's what work is like.
First of all, I didn't come up with his name. That was my wife, even though it is a golf-related name. But yeah, she just said Ace, and I said that's perfect.
It is a perfect name. I like that.
I sure hope he likes it. That's the key. What I can leave and what I would tell Ace is really to, I don't know how you say this in one word, but to be an observer.
Mm-hmm.
What serves me very well is my ability to read the crowd and read individuals. So I pride myself in paying attention, which a lot of the time I'm doing the talking, but I really want to read tones and feelings and body language and those kind of things. Those are very important to me. Of course, you read the words. I would tell them to pay attention instead of being the one that I hate to say it, that leads the conversation. I think it's important to hear first, and then formulate what you might want to say or might not want to say. I think that's an important way to look at things in every interaction. I do that socially. I'd like to get to know folks and where they're coming from. It's not always just about the words. I think you can kind of analyze feelings and the tones, as I said. What's coming out might be different than what the words actually say. So, whether you're a CEO or a salesperson or anybody for that matter, an athlete, I think you need to hear first before you can act and communicate. So for me, that would be a big conversation that I would have with Ace when he's ready. And that would kind of lead the charge.
Start now.
For me.
He's 11.
Yeah, he's getting there. Yeah.
What a great conversation. And I just will give you a compliment. I mean, sincerely, and the audience can see this. Your eye contact is like spot on. And Ollie, when someone can look at another person in the eye and maintain that depth of listening, just what you said, observing, it also says, your eye contact also says you're really listening. And you're not listening for yourself. You're listening, what I'm getting from all of this, is for the other person. In other words, emotional intelligence, those who have it, and you do, are those who are paying attention to other people and other surroundings and other experiences, and then enveloping them for themselves. So I will leave you with that compliment, and I mean it sincerely.
Thank you, Val. I really appreciate that.
It'll show up.
It's very important to me, of course, and from what I can tell, you're the same way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you look good, and that leads for me to say to the audience, I have to thank Betty Ryder for what I am wearing today. She is just an amazing woman. She has a beautiful boutique. Isn't this great?
You look terrific.
Colorful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks to Betty.
I'm glad I dressed up to sit next to you.
We both dressed up. Isn't that good? So I just want the audience to know it's at Betty Ryder at Preston Center, a great European, very, very special boutique. And you stop in and tell them that you saw this on the air. And so, Ollie, thank you so much. We're going to look so forward to hearing more about what the Dallas Business Journal is doing and other things that you're coming up with as a leader. So I appreciate you being on the show. Wish you all the blessings.
You the same, Val. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And until next time, you just stay authentic and listen up. I have a gift for you. I've said this now for several times, and I still have it for you. If you are interested in getting a free gift, all you have to do is go to valerieandcompany.com, valerieandcompany.com/gift. Hit that button, and you will get an article that I wrote about living and leading in this disruptive world. And then the other thing is, if you enjoy these podcasts, please, to the side, hit that red button, the subscribe button. It's so interesting that, Ollie, I find, and I'm guilty of it sometimes too, we watch podcasts and we like them, but who hits the red button? Well, Google Juice needs it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hit the red button.
Hit that red button, right? All right. Until next time, bye for now. All right. Here is the Valerieism for today. We move toward what we put forward. We move toward what we put forward in our minds. So let's all go for it. Play it big. That really kind of says it all. I know we are dealing with a lot of things in our world today that could cause us to get down, lose our mojo, maybe doubt ourselves too much. But I'm just going to say, don't do that. Don't you dare allow yourself to do that. You're leaders. You get up every day and you say to yourself, I'm going to make an impact and I'm going to make a difference, because that's what I'm here to do in this world. So move forward, because if you do, you're going to, move toward moving forward, because when you do, you will play it big. And why not? Who wants to play small? And that's my Valerieism for today.
Thanks for listening. To receive Valerie's voice, free monthly leadership tips, and to learn more about her leadership programs and coaching, visit her website, valerieandcompany.com. Next week, we'll be here again to inspire, engage, and equip you with teachable points of view from successful leaders who have been doing it right. Until then, lead authentically